That was his recommendation. So glad to see you all again, and we're just going to start off with one of our intros. Okay, so see you in a moment.
No sound.
Is and only Mr. Derek Clement, and what we say today is going to show you how much there is out there and what kind of business this man does. So, without further ado, can we say hello to Mr. Derek Clement, please?
Bear with me 1 second, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you, sir?
Hello there.
I'm well, Hugh. Thank you. And Lorraine, I'm very well. How are you?
Not too bad at all. It's been a little while since we've done a show. It's been a couple of weeks or more, obviously due to what's been happening at the moment. But it's lovely to have you on.
Oh, it's a pleasure, my
Yeah.
man. Pleasure.
Uh, you know something. You know when we spoke recently, and we spoke about the hair care business and where you were going, what you were doing. It was so important to get in touch with you and sort of put it out there for people to see, because this is not going to be a one-off situation where we're going to have conversations, because I can see that we've got many things that we can work upon. And while I'm speaking to you, I'd just like to say that when people make changes in life and in business, it's sometimes very traumatic. And what we have today is what's gone on with the pandemic, and the fact that I have witnessed you going to people on their door, knocking on their door, and giving them the products that they have ordered. That is absolutely fantastic, and the shock on some of the people's faces. Yeah. So,
And also, as well, sometimes give them a nice makeover as well, which is tremendous. And I'm sure, obviously, within these times as well, that's going to make anybody feel good, you know? So, welcome. And it's lovely to be able to hear your story and perhaps, you know what I mean, share some nuggets of your, business knowledge base with some of the members here. So, thank you very much for coming on and
Thank you,
agreeing to be
guys.
with us tonight.
It's a pleasure.
can we first of all ask you, from the myriad of businesses and the things that you know and have been dealing with, I think I would like to start with what's your education, where are you from, and then we can start on what is the business thereafter. So,
Right.
where are you from? Who are you, sir? Who are you?
So let's jump into this. So I'm Grenadian. I'm Grenadian by birth, as a matter of fact.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yes, unlike many other black kids in the 60s, I came to England as a child. Sort of Windrush generation. My mother, Agatha came to this country in I think it was 1950s, late 50s, and
Yeah,
okay.
subsequently she, as per usual, she would, mothers or the parents would then have the children follow them to the UK. Because that was in those days the land of milk and honey, we were told.
Yes, absolutely.
We were told. And so as a result, many people, my mother included, in fact, my mother's a single parent. I'm from a single parent family. My mother came to England and she trained as a nurse, became an SR, and all single-handedly, and brought up 4 children all by her lonesome.
Good.
Right?
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
she's indeed the true matriarch. Like many other Caribbean women. There need to be a film, Hugh and guys. There need to be a film solely on black women. Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Because
The
they
amount
are.
that's
Amen to that.
Listen, they are indeed the phenomenal ones that we've been. We've heard lots of stories about other cultures, but black women are indeed phenomenal.
Well, you know what? The truth is that black women have produced so many of our geniuses, of our entrepreneurs, and it's from that one woman. I mean, I'm not discarding, the male and the female, the husband and wife who've been there together, showing the direction. But to actually be a single parent, giving your child the direction and the moral grounds by which they stand firm, to then make the changes and transitions in life, black women can only be applauded. And if we could find other words to say how great they are, we should be out there saying them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely. And that's why, guys, I have her just above my head here. She's right there.
Yes.
In her younger days, as a 27-year-old woman from the Caribbean, and 6 foot tall. I mean, absolutely great. So I came to this country as a young lad. And I have to confess, like most young boys, and in fact, that was shown recently on BBC. I didn't watch the program, but we all suffered some kind of trauma, some kind of bigotry. And it's interestingly, it was the bigotry and the covert racism at school that thrusted me into the hairdressing industry. Because I knew at a very early age, as a young lad, I'm from Acton, by the way, guys, in West London, Acton.
Okay, I was going to ask you that.
Yes, right. As a young lad, going to Acton County School, in fact, it was a grammar school, just turned comprehensive. So you can well imagine the very stoic sensibilities, very kind of very old-fashioned, but there were indeed racism that was so stealth, so covert, you didn't understand it. But I recognized it at a very early age. And I swore to myself, when I leave school, I'm not going to work with the man, so to speak, for the want of a better word, the man. And it's interesting. I remember going to my barber shop in Acton, a gentleman by the name of John Rankin from Jamaica, kind of St. Elizabeth kind of geezer, and his business partner, Miss Olive. I remember asking John to train me to be a barber because, of course, you have to remember, Hugh, guys, hair, whether it's barbering or hairdressing, is the economic linchpin, is the economic cornerstone of our, in fact, of all black communities, be it America, the Caribbean, Africa. Hairdressing is indeed a force to be reckoned with, okay?
It's identity.
Exactly.
Listen.
And even if we look at that as an identity, recently I read a little report, and it said that the cane roll used to be used during the slave trade, during the slavery, to actually jot down a map of how to get somewhere. And that was the code by which people read. And they would actually see in the cane road to say, you got to turn left at the riverbank and right. And so that became something that, we see cane road and we say, oh, people are trying to, take our style away. But the people who are trying to take those styles don't actually understand the history of what actually happened with the hair.
Very good point. The cane row or the corner row is indeed an anachronism. It's lived in many ages and many times, right? From eons. And I think it's interesting to think that we actually created that style. And as we're talking about style and hairdressing, black hair is indeed at the forefront of all other hair types. Bearing in mind, we have been on the planet first. We were here first on the planet. So it's only natural that black hair at its peak, if you were to take black hair back into antiquity, you'll see how the great queens of antiquity, the Candace queens, as I refer to them, that lasted for 140 dynasties, right? Almost over 5,000 years of rulership. So you had a people on the planet that was ruling the planet and the world for 5,000 years. In those days, no other culture existed. And if they did exist, they would have been just ragtag cultures running around in the dirt and the mire of Europe. And it's interesting, who you saw hairstyles that were created by our ancestors in Kemet. Call it Africa, call it Egypt. The every hairstyle was born out of our people. Every tool, every implementation to style hair came out of our people. Every conditioner, every product came from our people.
Absolute, and here you are, well, you know what, you started your own hair care product recently, but you've been in the business for a very long time. So let's talk about where your experience is from that perspective in terms of the business of hair. Where did that start from?
For you.
Where did that start for you?
So before I jump into this, right? And I'm saying this because we must always embellish our culture. We must always uplift our cultural esteem. It's important because our children are constantly in a quandary. Mom, what's this? Why is this? Who says this? There's something called Afrophobia, and our children are being made to feel inferior when in actuality their hair and who they are indeed great ones. Now, I started hairdressing in 1976. I went to the iconic and legendary Splinters in Mayfair, of all places. Owned by... That's right. It was owned by the legendary Winston Isaacs, who was indeed one of the greatest hairdressers on the planet, besides a man called Pierre Toussaint of the 17th century. Now, Winston, Splinters was actually an American salon, and Winston was the British partner, right?
Okay.
And as a young man, I remember having spoken to my barber. I went into I went into the West End with my girlfriend, and I sat into this most palatial salon in Mayfair. In fact, 32 Maddox Street in Mayfair. Now, isn't it interesting, guys? There was a black business in the heart of Mayfair that thrived for over 30 years, well oiled.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And
a lot of people don't know that.
Well. So here's the thing: it was an ecosystem. When you think of, and it was interesting. It was run by black people, patronized by black people, and there were multiple aspects of black businesses that thrived and kind of coalesced with Splinters, because he had the electrician, he had the plumber, he had the carpenter, he had the suppliers, which was Dyke and Dryden. This was a black business, and remember, there were many shops like Splinters in those days, because you had shops in Brixton, Harlesden, North London. Yeah. So we were indeed in that time. Oh my God, Hugh, that was powernomics at its highest, blackonomics at its highest in the 70s, right through to the 80s.
That was also supported, as you said, there by Dyke and Dryden, because they actually, started on the premise that, if you're going to do hair, there are many other products, not only for hair, but many other products and many other businesses that they can work in tandem with. So Splinters was actually getting a lot of what Dyke and Dryden were actually doing, of the benefits, because people are starting to learn how to work together. So,
Well,
you know,
Well, I mean, Dyke& Dryden was more than manufacturers. I mean, they were actually,
Yeah.
Dyke& Dryden had, the finance colleges and schools. I think Dyke& Dryden worked in collaboration with people like Joan Sarms. So there's a
Yeah.
college up there in North London, okay? And all they were doing was continuing the tradition of successful black businesses. Bear in mind, the founding mother, the matriarch of hairdressing, would be Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Malone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Out of that stable came a guy called S.B. Turner, one of the first billionaires in America in the 1950s. Out of that lineage, you had a guy called the Johnson family, who created Jet Magazine, Ebony Magazine, and Afro Sheen. You see I'm good with this, right? And alongside him, you had a guy called Joe Dudley, who created Dudley's, who's one of the biggest manufacturers and one of the biggest exhibition in the United States that produced for Afro hair, right?
Yes.
And out of that lineage, you come down to a guy called Coma Cottrell, who created Proline. So at the same time, these guys were creating, if you like, this revolution in terms of business, entrepreneurship, and millionaire. You had Dyke& Dryden in London doing exactly the same thing. So the point I'm trying to make, guys, is that, as I said, Afro hairdressing is the economic cornerstone of our community. And all I'm saying is that, I'm saying this to say that whoever is watching and listening to this, we need to get behind the beauty industry in this country because it's worth £2.5 billion per year, and other communities are making money from us.
Precisely. Yes, I mean, when you look at the wealth of talent that there is, I mean, today, if you said, okay, sit down and just take a look around you at the hair and beauty, the cosmetics, the health, the lifestyle, we're actually running things on a different dimension. But the thing is, what we have to do is support our businesses, because a lot of us want to support our businesses by just the word of mouth. As in, I know about this place, but I haven't been down there, or I haven't introduced that place to my friends who probably need to use their equipment or whatever that they want. So it's for us to publicize all our businesses in all their strengths, and not just say, oh, they're expensive because,
But I also think as well, sorry to cut the question, is that we can learn a lot from Splinters and Dyke & Dryden, really and truly, even now, right? For me, before we really do, find out a little bit more about you, Derek, is the fact that Splinters was able to last that, so long, operating as a black business with black clients, with black staff, you know what I mean, suppliers and everything. So I would say to you, in your opinion, what has gone wrong now? If you
what is happening?
What is happening now that we're not seeing that happening all over?
Well,
it's happening everywhere. We've not continued that process, have we?
Right. I mean, you know what's happened, and it's not difficult to understand. I mean, there are challenges, there are obstacles, there are traps set for us. There are gatekeepers in this great country of ours, and what's taking place right now. And when I say what's taking place right now is indeed an example, it's indeed a metaphor of what happened in the past. They could change the game over and over and over again. That's going to disenfranchise us as a people. And if you think of the COVID situation, what it's doing for me indirectly is actually allowing us to wake up and go back and to understand how to sustain ourselves, not just from a health point of view, but from a business point of view. So what happened to Splinters and many other businesses in London? We had St. Clair's, we had people like Enoch Williams in Brixton, we had people like in Harlesden, we had people like Mr. Norman, we had Mi Amigos. All these people, St. Clair's made a lot of money back in the day, just like Splinters did in Shepherd's Bush, and they were also in Marble Arch. Now, I mean, it's easy to understand what happened. Sometimes our children doesn't pick up the mantle, if you like, and carry and understand the significance of generational wealth. Our kids are sometimes being distracted. The legacy. They become distracted. I know guys, I've got friends who work for, whose family are doing very well and very successful, and they would ignore the family business and work for other people. So it's very easy sometimes to distract our people. And then, of course, we talk about belief in ourselves. As you just alluded to, Hugh, we need that belief in ourselves to support. It's interesting. Something came across my mind today. I was listening to Dr. Claude Anderson, and he quoted a famous Greek philosopher as Diogenes. Diogenes was an interesting guy in the days of Alexander the Great. He used to walk around the town in Corinth with a lantern in his hand. He lived in a barrel, and he said that he's looking to shine a light on honest people. So I think what it is we need to do now is to also do something rather similar. We need to shine a light and to show to awake the vision in people to understand that there are black businesses out there. You guys have recognized what we are doing, and you are supporting this concept, and you are supporting black entrepreneurship, right? And black shepherdship, and allowing us to if you like, cast a light on what we are doing. So we did much more of that. Perhaps back then for the Winston Isaacs and the Sinclairs, I don't know what happened. I know it was very difficult for black companies in those days to get funds, if you like, to expand, right?
Yeah,
Bear in mind, you must understand this. If you are a white brand in the same industry in those days, it is very easy to be funded by multinationals, companies with so much dough that they would finance and support your business. In fact, all the white companies, whether it's think of names on the high street. There's lots of sounds. Look, right now, these guys, you have to remember, they're in the white industry. You've got the trade magazines like Hair and Beauty, right? They have a way of embellishing their white hairdressers. We don't have that in our industry. We don't have the magazines in London. Right? And when we did have a magazine back in the day, it was kind of, wishy-washy. Whereas in the white industry, what they do, they celebrate the artist. And before you know it, they get awards every year. And before you know it, these guys are being whooped up by L'Oreal and Weller and Schwarzkopf and these people are,
perpetuated, continued.
Right, we don't have that.
But you see, one of the things that, as you just said that, I just thought that one of the processes, we don't have our own people celebrating our own success in that way. We might see what's going on in America, but we need to start getting on board in celebrating the industries that we have, because that's one area that we are lacking. So,
absolutely.
I think perhaps they are. However, we don't know about them. I mean, I do know that there are particular award ceremonies that take place every year. Obviously, this year being a very difficult time, and so on, to showcase businesses and so on. But yeah, quite rightly, I think now is the time that people are more aware, can we say?
Right.
So going forward, in terms of putting things on and letting people know where to find businesses, where to find you, and celebrating them with awards and so on, and magazines, those things are there now. And I think they are fledgling, but I think come this time in a year's time, we will be, seeing a lot more of these ceremonies and what is happening out there, and actually being able to visit and go and support them, in the flesh. I know it's what now? Maybe 30 years on, but I just think now is the time that people are actually realizing, do you know what, we had that back in, the 80s or 90s or whatever. So we are going to start again. It's almost like being rebirth, isn't it? Yeah. It's like we're starting again, that whole process, but doing it properly from the ground up and for ourselves, and not relying on, the big businesses that we put so.
It's all about the collaboration. But you know what? The most important thing is, you're here today, and we want to talk to you about what you're doing in your business.
We can come back to our debate.
We can go back to that another time. I don't want you to be here, and we don't know what you are doing to celebrate.
Right,
you.
but it's important. It's important to sometimes shed light on the past to understand how to go forward.
Of course.
And you're perfectly right. So guys, so all about Derek Clement. So Derek Clement has been in the industry for over 40 years. And there's nothing I haven't done. I was trained in London School of Fashion. I was trained in Hounslow Borough College, and simultaneously I was trained at Splinters International as a young apprentice. right up to owning my own shop in Maida Vale. I bought my first shop in Maida Vale in 1983 for practically £500,000. Then I had a shop in Lewisham at the time. It's called Noir. And I also collaborated with a Nigerian sister in Mayfair and Park Lane. Shop was called Jades of Mayfair. So we did lots and lots and lots and lots. As per usual, there was something about going back home that was in the corner of my mind. Because if you remember back in the day, we had the Thatcher years. Black people, like today, were feeling very insecure, very uncertain about the future in the UK. So I packed up my bag, sold my shops, and went back to the Caribbean. I went back to Grenada. I opened 4 shops, and I opened a school, an academy. And I trained lots of young people throughout the Caribbean, Trinidad, Antigua, Jamaica, Barbados, blah, blah, blah. And it's interesting. After a little while, I took my family back. My children went to my elder kids went back to school in the Caribbean. So much so that my biggest daughter now, she's in the islands working for the medical school. She's a journalist. So so it was quite a great move. And I still have that urge to go back. So I went back to the Caribbean and opened the shops. Having done that, did that, and then sold up shops and went to the United States. And I went.
So you sold up. So you sold up over in the Caribbean and then moved everything over to.
That's right. That's right. Once the kids was grown, they came back to London. I went to the States. Did about almost 10, 15 years in the States. I had to go to the States because, of course, that's where you hear about America, you hear about Hollywood, you hear about New York. Yeah. And I had to go to the States, and I went to the States. And I have to confess, I needed to go to the States because what I learned from the American is that in America, right, unlike Britain in those days, the average black woman expects you as a stylist to own your own product. You must have your own product. So as I do the hair, it was like, what's up, dear? You got your own products, you got your own shampoo. And I'm thinking, well, and that's how, if you like, in 2000, my daughter's born 2009, 2008, up to 2011, I remember I got the hustle spirit in terms of branding myself. So the whole thing began in the States, and I came back to London in 2011, 2012, and there it really, the whole idea of the product range took off. So now the emphasis right now is more on manufacturing rather than hairdressing, though I still do hairdressing. I'm still a hairdresser. We have an academy. We have an interesting thing called Must, that I'll talk to you about later on. So the emphasis right now for me and my business partner and I, Rudy Page, is all about manufacturing. So we continue in the legacy. We believe that the baton has been passed on to us by Dyke and Dryden and Splinters. So we're going to carry the baton on and pass it on again later on when the time is right. So that's what we do now. We're manufacturing, and we are shedding light on what we do. We provide expert advice, information, guidance, and support, and tips to the community with regards to hair growth and hair health.
Wow, that is extensive. Now, even within that, you still have left out some of the bits where, as a stylist, because how long have you been doing the stylist? Because as you said, you're now onto the manufacturing, but you seem to have come back to what you love. Because when I watch your videos, you're very passionate about what you are doing, and your client, you can tell that they are totally confident in what you say and how you deliver. So I commend you for that, but I want to know, how do you maintain the two? Because, seeing you on a train going to drop something to someone, for me, that was like, whoa, this man has time to do that.
Listen.
That's about passion.
Listen, and that is an old template. The house to house, all the people I mentioned to you before, the Common Cottrell, the Joe Jackson, all these guys, Madam C.J. Walker did that. The house to house, and the services. Now, I still do hairdressing. I can't not do hairdressing. And obviously, I combine the two together. Obviously, if I'm going to do a cut, I would have to now support the cut with great products. It just makes sense to marry the two together. And not just that, but also passing on my skills So if you see me do the haircut, it's passing on my skills to other younger hairdressers, because we were, in our generation, you could argue, the pioneers of the haircut. Unfortunately, most hairdressers don't do haircuts. Most hairdressers are great stylists, but the cutting really came at a time when Splinters would have been one of the revolutionary companies that actually cut hair and Afro hair very well.
May I?
Please.
What is the difference between a cut and a stylist? What's the difference? Me not have no cut.
Right. If you remember, and if you remember, there was a time when black women straightened the hair. Now, don't get me wrong. I support all aspects of Afro hair. So we support bald, we support braid, we support lock, we support afros, we support weaves and wigs, wraps, coil and straightened hair. Now, there was a time when the sisters had their hair straightened, which was trending at the time back in 70s, 80s and so on. And what the sisters wanted was to ensure that the hair moved. We call this shape, balance and movement. Now, there's a difference between a.
I agree with you. I know nothing right now. You're in a different territory for me right now.
The reason being is because obviously watching the American programs and American sisters, you know what I mean, their heads flowing,
bouncy and moving around.
How are they getting that? You know, but that was something to behold. So,
but I have to say that the British hairdressers were by far more in terms of, because of the Sassoon connection, because London is really the center of the universe when it comes to cutting hair. Some of the greatest haircutters comes from England. Remember, you got the Sassoon, you got the Ross, you got the Tillman guys. And some of the greatest black hairdressers work for white establishment, right? You know who they are. Okay. Great names. They're brilliant, right? And you can't touch those guys for cutting European hair. Likewise, we are the pioneers for cutting Afro hair, because the sisters wanted the hair to move, to bounce, and to have shape, right? And those are the three elements of a good haircut: shape, balance, and movement. Now, the difference with a West End salon in those days, if you went to a local salon, the hair would have been, you should know this, my darling, the hair would have been stiff and lacquered, right? And not moving, just sprayed and lacquered and stiff. But when it came to Splinters, they had that haircut, that geometric bob, that asymmetric,
that's
right? You see, the sisters was bouncing. And if you think about it, many sisters wanted their hair to move like a white girl. Now listen to me carefully. It is white women who misappropriated Afro hair, right? So the sisters wasn't trying to be like them. The sisters were trying to be them, because you have to remember, Afro hair are the genesis of all hair type. The bob, the bob came from from black people. It was black people who invented the bob. So that whole shape thing that you see Mary Quant.
Well, it's in the Egyptian hieroglyphics.
There you are. So when a sister wears her hair straight and she wears her hair in a bob, she's not trying to be anything else but herself. You have to, because there seems to be often issues with brothers saying to the sisters, "Are you trying to be white?" Hell, bloody no. Sorry, but hell no. Black women are just being themselves always. They're not trying to.
I think you need to repeat that again. Black women are just trying to be,
well, themselves, because of course it's in the DNA. They remember their ancestors and what they did. So when a sister wears a wig, she's not trying to be like anybody else. When she wears a weave, she's not trying to be like everybody else. That is her. That's hers. She created the weave and the wig, right? She created weave and wigs. When she wears her hair conditioned, when she conditioned her hair and she moisturizes her hair, Madam C.J. Walker invented the conditioner, right? A brother called Augustus Morgan Garrett, he invented the relaxer. So we are constantly changing the narrative, changing the game for us, by us, for us.
And the straightener comb. I can't remember who invented the straightening comb. You know, the one that you put on the fire.
Well, the pressing comb was invented by a French geezer, but Madam C.J. Walker popularized it.
Right. There you go.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? And I'm glad that you're here to kind of celebrate exactly what it is us black women, do. And to a certain degree as well, I think there's a kind of misconception between black women anyway when it comes to the weaves and wearing
That's
the hair
because
straight
we
and the
don't know.
relaxers.
We
Because
don't have a man like that to just
exactly.
tell us straight.
So that's
this
why
this is revolutionary.
We applaud you.
Up until this moment
Yeah.
here, I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah, because a lot of us women think, oh, it's just so that we can get by at work. In the workplace, it's more acceptable and so on. And now, obviously, there was this great sway movement, for natural hair. But as you quite rightly said, and it kind of in a way brings us back to how we entered the conversation in the first place, which is, the cornrows, the cane rows, right? We're making designs. There are guys and girls out there making up designs and so on of plaits and curls and whatever.
Indeed.
But they don't know that what they're creating is subconsciously what
there's a message.
The messaging from.
They're not passing on the message.
Yeah.
They're just thinking that what they're doing is style.
Yeah.
But there is a message, and if they understood what really happened when it was first not first invented, but first used as a code during the slave era, they would understand how important what they're doing is for the black community, because it's our identity.
Listen,
actually, I love to see my
But you know
brothers.
what? I'm going to say again, thank you very much, because that has really, I presume, has made a lot of women feel a lot more at ease, because, we've got these different movements going on, the lock community, the natural community, that, you know what, we're all one community with the hair because we invented everything. We invented it.
Listen.
So it's lovely to hear you say that. And I'll say it again.
when a sister wears, look, it's in the consciousness, isn't it? It's deep in the consciousness. And what's interesting about this as well, we've just had the Crown Act passed in California. So the Crown Act was passed in California to prevent, if you like, Afrophobia or discrimination for Afro hair. It's interesting. In 1786, there was a law that forbade black women from wearing the hair. It's called the Tignan law. And that law was only passed because when the so-called, and I don't like to use the word slaves, because I know that we were not slaves. There was a war, and we were nothing more than prisoners of war. It's in many documented in many documents. They often refer to, sometimes mistakenly, as a war. When Europe carved up Africa, they went there to fight. So after that emancipation, the sisters in Louisiana in the United States were free, and so they were now walking around the community with this gorgeous hair, this plume, gorgeous afros, and their white contemporary was absolutely jealous of them. This is a fact. This is documented. You could Google it, right? They were jealous of them, and so they somehow believed that the black women was going to entice their men, their suitors, their husbands away from them. So they passed a law. And all this is about hair, mind you. They passed a law to forbid black women from wearing their gorgeous hair styled in public. So they had to then wear head wraps.
Hence and then we took that over as well.
But it's interesting how, almost, this is 1786, now it's 2021, a law is now passed to literally, it's called the Crown Law, the Crown Act.
Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it? And of course you have things like Afro Hair Day. So, our hair, and it's interesting, the powers that be understand the power of Afro hair. If you remember the days when every brand that was owned by white people was called African Pride, African Queen. Isn't it interesting how when you mention the word African to many people, there's a kind of, I'm not African, whatever. Okay, you know that. So, but in the consciousness, if the product says, if the brand says African, right, we rush to it because we know in our consciousness that that's where everything hair comes from. Hair growth products. If you think of certain countries I think of East Africa where you got things like the chebe butter, which is, those are all natural hair growth enhancers, right? The argan oil, the shea butters. Everything for hair, not just for hair growth, but for hair health, comes from Africa. And other people use it, right? Clays and muds are
Yeah.
indeed great natural hair growing enhancers.
You know,
There
one of
is
the
a
things.
question. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there is a question that one of the members has just. I'll share it here now. Just answer a quick question before
Yeah.
we go on. Do you have a take on why white people like to touch Afro hair?
I think deep in their consciousness is that.
Have you heard white people's views on this?
I mean, you know, for eons, this has been a beef with the sisters and other people. Even my neighbor, who is an Asian woman, somehow she can't keep her hands off my daughter's hair. My little daughter, she's got this two great big Afro puffs, and it's interesting. When my 5-year-old goes to school, her hair is a big issue because it just looks so majestic, so regal. It is indeed her crown, and I think that's what it is, sisters. It is your hair is your crown and the glory, and since you are the queens of life, they're just trying to touch the crown. That's who has it. They're just trying to touch the crown. They have to touch the crown.
You know,
They have to bow. I think touching your hair is like you have to bow. You have to bow down to touch the crown.
The thing is, whilst we're laughing at that, really, that is actually, you know, a truth. That is our heritage. That is our, you know, our pathway. And you're quite right in what you're saying there. And I think we kind of laugh at that to a certain degree because we're thinking, oh, you know, I know we say that and so on, but it is actually a fact. It's true, you know. And I think you're sharing this knowledge with a lot of us here. That in terms of even down to you know, the hair products and who started, you're giving us a lot of knowledge there. Where maybe some of us women were thinking, you know, I feel a little bit guilty wanting to get a relaxer, you know, but I'm realizing most of us that, you know, we are the trailblazers and always have been the trailblazers.
Well,
when
we're
it
watched,
comes
aren't
to
we?
hairstyles
We're
and
watched.
so on.
What we do is what they follow.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to stop on that.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
You know what? I'm determined. I am determined. I want to start even by saying to you, you have started your own product, your own brand.
Yeah.
And why? And what have you got? What's special about it?
Right. So
that we can tell people.
yeah. Thank you, thank you, Hugh. So that said, so I've created the Derek Clement system, and I think the reason why I created a system is because the sisters haven't got a clue. They've been, you know, there's a lot of information out there, almost information glut, but they need support, they need guidance, they need help, right? They need tips. So what I've done, I've created a system. The system is based on, is divided into 3 tiers. And the reason why I've done the tier system is because your hair needs fundamentally 3 things that allows it to grow and grow successfully. And remember, sisters, Afro hair, contrary to popular belief, grows longer than anybody else. Right? But since we're not in our habitat and we have to conform to this habitat, the water is harsh, the water is hard, it's recycled 8 times, all of that is impacting on our hair. So when you see the sisters struggling for hair growth, the food is not right, the food is wrong. We left our foods behind, we left our hair products behind. So, and listen, so I'm doing a Sankofa thing. I'm going back and I'm creating sustainable product using sustainable ingredients. So we've got the Jamaican black castor oil. Those are indeed sustainable for the hair because they've got the elements that your hair needs. It needs 3 fundamental things. It needs the omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids that castor oil has. It has things. It's a humectant, a great humectant. It's a great it's emulsifier. It's a great occlusive. So what I've done is, guys, so let's go to tier 1. Tier 1 consists of the shampoo. So what I say to my clients, one of the things I think the sisters have done a lot in the past, they've over shampooed the hair. It's part of our DNA. We like to wash, we like to scrub, we like to rinse, we like to wash the hair and hear that squeak. That's not good. That's damaging for your hair. Because shampoos, by the very nature, not my shampoo, but shampoos by the very nature are made from very nefarious chemicals, and they call, right, there you are. They are, you know, dodgy stuff that's almost carcinogenic and very harsh. The reason why the shampoo lathers, there are ingredients in that cause the lathering, but it also harms the hair. Okay, that's the sulfate, right? We call them, to make life short, we call them parabens. That has no sulfate, it has no parabens. And I say to my clients, do just one shampoo. Don't shampoo 3, 4, 5, 7 times because you're so clean. Shampoo the hair just once. So that's my shampoo. That's in the tier 1. And these are called...
Can you put it closer to the camera?
Right there.
That's it,
tier 1. Right, that's shampoo.
A picture as well
of
the product.
Yeah, shampoo. So what's unique about this now, because you like to shampoo your hair, we continue to shampoo the hair using what we call the co-wash. Now, the co-wash is a shampoo that doesn't lather, it conditions the hair as it's shampooing. Because Afro hair needs more conditioning, more moisturizing than any other hair type. Okay, because of the nature, it's a unique texture, it's coily, it's kinky, it's fabulous, it's elastic, it's beautiful, right? So once you've done that, then the final thing in the tier 1 would be the conditioner. So you've got 3 things: tier 1, shampoo, co-wash, and condition. And that's the system: shampoo, co-wash, and condition. Right? These are called.
So before you go ahead, because I'm going to ask, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of ladies out there saying, okay, 1 minute I'm told that the hair is clean, and you hear that squeak. Right?
No.
Now you're saying no. That's the difficulty for us, because we're trying to figure out what is best. We all know sometimes our hair is not growing for whatever reason, and so you're saying that if you're picking up a shampoo, your shampoo, it cannot contain any parabens. Is that correct?
Mustn't contain parabens, because we're going back now. You have to remember all of this is hinged on the concept of supporting our immune system. So it's all about the well-being. Right. So we have to ensure that moving forward into this new reset, we're going to keep our products as wholesome as possible.
Okay. Thank you very much. So that's the
free tier system.
Right. So that's tier 1. Now, and these tier 1 is all about the rinse off. These have to be rinsed off. Okay. Once you've rinsed off the hair, we then go to tier 2. Tier 2 are leave-ins. And we start tier 2 with a marvelous and unique product from Zimbabwe. This is from the baobab tree. And you have to remember, it's in Africa, all the products, almost every fruit, almost every tree in Africa is about hair enhancers. The baobab has loads and loads of nutrients, vitamins in it. And so what I use that for, this is like a moisturizing agent. So you drizzle this on the hair drizzle this on the hair to moisturize the hair, to feed the hair. All right, that's a part of tier 2. The next step would be to get the hydration. We call this a hydrator, and this works in all hair types, not just natural hair. It also works for hair that's relaxed, hair that's locked, hair that's braided, afro, all hair types. So this is a hydrator. And the reason why I say hydrator, the hair needs 3 things. It needs hydration and moisturization and nutrient. So this is a nutrient and this is the hydrator, and you add the moisturizer. So what you do is you put this together in your palm like this. And that's the milk, the hydrator milk, and the moisturizer milk in the palm of the hand like this. Bear in mind, you've already moisturized the hair with a nutrient, because hair needs moisturization and hydration, and you rub it together, and that goes all over your hair or your beard if you wanted to. Your beard.
I was going to ask you about that. Don't worry, I was going to ask you about that. For the moment.
That goes in your beard. And listen, I moisturize.
Now you see you've got something now.
Listen,
I'm now listening.
And you see how the comb goes through the moisturizer. It just goes through, no like fighting. It just goes through the hair effortlessly. Yeah. And that's tier 2. Right. Now, these are leave-ins, and it's for all hair type, relaxed hair and afro hair. Now, in the tradition of food and feeding the hair, we used to use the word grease in the old days. I don't like the word grease. The word grease to me is synonymous to petrol and petroleum.
Yes.
And a lot of our people used to use petroleum, and that's the byproduct, was grease. I don't say grease, I say food. So in tier 3 is a lead, that's the feeding now. You start tier 2 with what we call a hair and scalp food. This is made from hemp, all the way from Jamaica. It's made from hemp. This is the food. This is hair and scalp. No, sorry, this one is a regrowth. Hair and regrowth. And this is hemp. It's a gorgeous hemp and shea butter and vitamin E.
Right.
It's a great consistency. That goes into the scalp and that goes into the hairline. And the reason why this is crucial, one of the biggest problem for the sisters in this time and this age is cicatricial alopecia, often caused by inflammation. Inflammation because we're eating the wrong foods, we're in the wrong climate, we're eating the wrong foods, and inflammation triggers alopecia. So you see lots of sisters that's going bald in the crown. That's cicatricial alopecia. And it used to be called pressing comb alopecia. And then there's another type of alopecia that's very pandemic at the moment, is traction alopecia, because the braids are too tight and the lock is so heavy, is pulling the hair down, so you got traction. So that's a great product for traction alopecia and cicatricial alopecia. All right.
Okay.
That goes into the scalp.
And is it good for locks as well?
Locks, all hair type. Okay.
Right.
And you could do the old fashioned thing, like taking it in your fingers and you put it in the hair, on the hairline. For the guys, we got one for the guys as well, K77. I'll explain that to you later on. That goes on the beard. And also my products goes on the skin as well. I use it on my skin, on my face, on my lips, everywhere.
Okay.
Because it's natural, it's shea butter, it's Jamaican black castor oil. Those are all great humectant. Right? And then of course we've got the other one in tier 3. We've got the hair and scalp food. The first one is called the hair growth treatment because it's broken from the alopecia. Now this is the food. This is also a great heat protector because lots of sisters do pressing comb or silk press. So you could use that to protect the hair. All right. I'm a hairdresser, so I need products to use on my customers here successfully. So I created all of this. These are all formulated by me. I'll explain to you my pharmacist later on. And finally, what you do, we've got the Jamaican black castor oil sheen. This is a wonderful spray. It's a sheen, and it's like this. You spray this on your beard, on your hair. Yeah. It's marvelous, fabulous consistency. Great sheen, provides luster for the hair. All right, and that is the 3-tier. But there's also for the lock, we got the 3-in-1 lock oil. So if you got the lock, you've got dreadlocks, you got locks. And look at the nozzle. I designed the nozzle so you can apply into the areas all over the place.
Which is what we need.
Right,
honestly,
that's for locks. Okay, right. And for the guys, we've got the lock oil for the guys. It's called K77. Clement 77. Right?
Yeah. Nice name.
Keeping Good it name. Clement 77. That's what it's all about. That's right.
People look it up. Look it up.
That's right. That's right. We have we have our own Christmas. You know what our own Christmas is? We don't use Christmas anymore. You know what our Black Christmas is all about, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. Good.
Right.
Oh, no, that's lovely. They're great products. So where can people find them?
You go, the website is on there, www.hairx, one word, hair, HAIREX.com.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, not .uk. Let me put that.
Oh, sorry, my fault, .uk. Sorry,
yes,
thanks, Lorraine, .uk.
Lovely. No, that's wonderful. That's
right.
wonderful. And I mean, as I said, you shared and I'll put the product range is up here, everyone. So just pop over to the website and give that and get out the go. Now, what I'm going to ask you, Derek, is obviously I see you going to people's homes and giving them treatment. So is that something that you do quite often, or is that for a specific client, or
When we had
How
the
did that
What's the
start?
circumstances?
Yeah, what's the circumstance around you
To-
starting that?
Yeah.
well, so we have something called Derek Clement House Party. Derek Clement House Party, and that's what we do. Derek Clement House Party, and people ask me to come. Clients call me up, and Derek, I can't come. Would you come to my house? I've got husbands requesting to me that I come to do their wife's hair because it's the birthday, it's the anniversary. I've got husbands telling me, "D, come to the children's hair." I'm not coming to the hairdressers, and all that kind of stuff. So it's something that was born out of that request by the clients. And of course, with the COVID and all of that, people were obviously restricted. And so they asked me to come to the house. But by the way, it's a big industry, not just for us, but for the Europeans as well.
Right.
They do a lot of house calls. There's a massive organization. I won't go into it. But the barbers are now doing mobile hairdressing. You see lots of the barbers are doing that. So that's trending at the moment. And so when you see me bring a product to a client, it is because she wants it now. I ship products. I use Hermes. I use the post office. I use DHL. We post stuff all over the place. America, Jamaica, Grenada, Barbados, all over London. But when my client says to me, D, I want something now, I'm on that train. I take the train, as we used to say back in the day, let the train take the strain. It's easy to take the train, right? I'm on my train and I go any part of London. I was in a place called Benfleet. Is it Benfleet or?
I've heard of that.
Right,
Benfleet,
way up in the country. My client, Derek, I can't come to get my hair done, and I need products. I got my bag. I was up there. I go everywhere, wherever the clients need. And I'm also going to New York on the 28th of June to do exactly the same thing, because we have fans, we have lots of users in the States, in Connecticut, in New York, because I lived there for quite a while, so I've got lots of clients, very loyal clients. They want that kind of one-to-one service. And that, and listen, guy, that was part of our legacy, our hair story, our lineage. Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Malone did exactly those things, right? Comma Control, they made their money going to the homes. So it's called the Derek Clement House Party. What you do, a bunch of sisters get together and they invite me to their homes, right? And we could go to the park, we go to the back garden, we go to the front room, and you bring your friends, and I'll give you the information, expert information, advice, support, and guidance. That's what I do.
Well, we are going to be looking at doing that, Derek. But before we even go there, to just tell people, generally speaking, when Derek said he's going to New York, he's going to America, I quickly wrote him in quickly. I didn't mess about. No beavering around the place.
That's right.
I said, we are going to go live with him.
Yes.
So we can see what he's doing with our American cousins. So we can actually open the door. So BBR are going to be there live. We will tell you the times and dates when Derek gets it organized. So we will let you know, and you can actually see how he does what he does. You'll be live.
You'll be live in New York and Connecticut.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. I mean, obviously, we've not got too much longer left, Derek, because we can speak all night.
We can, and if you want to stay, we'll stay. We're good. Don't worry about time. Yeah, don't worry about time.
Let me also explain to you guys. We have the academy. We have a unique system called Must, and
which is what I was going to come back to. Actually, I did write that down.
We need Rudy Page and I, my business partner. We go back for over 40 years. Rudy and I says we have our friendship and our friend in the industry. Rudy was in Dyke and Dryden, I was in Splinters. We two kids from different parts of the world, but because of the industry, we all get together. And in those days, loads of young people was all working together. It's an ecosystem. And we got 85 years of hairdressing experience. Rudy was in manufacturing and in hairdressing. And we met up at an interesting event in the Jamaican High Commission. Rudy had plans for Dyke and Dryden. I had plans for Winston, because we are the proteges of those two organizations.
Let's call them our parent company.
That's right. And in speaking with Rudy, He really says, man, I'm writing the book. He said, well, I'm writing the book for Splinters, about Splinters. And so we just thought, you know what, why not collaborate? Let's bring it together. And that's it. I haven't seen Rudy for about 40 years since that time.
Oh,
And
my word.
since our young days. And so the MUST campaign, it means that we manufacture, which is us collectively. We use, right, that's us collectively. We train, and of course MUST, and we sell. So what we want our sisters to do in the Derek Clement house party, you take the product and you sell it to your friends. You invite me to your house as a guest, and of course in the office, in the park, wherever you want to be, and we provide that information, advice and guidance, as well as you can invest in the product, invest in the brand, and that's what the MUST is all about.
Oh, it's a form of franchising, and people can make a living from doing that for themselves.
Yeah, think of FUBU. Remember FUBU? For you, by you. That's that acronym there is all about. It's all about that. The MUST campaign.
Wow, that is phenomenal. Because I think a lot of people actually, when doing their own business, what you find is their business is their business, and it's not meant to be shared. And so to be able to open the door to our community, to our sisters, to say, look, this is what I have, this is what I'm providing, I'm giving you the information and the tools, you can step out there and do your thing as well.
Listen,
that is fabulous.
If we don't do that, as I said, the industry is worth 2.5 billion. L'Oreal, one of the biggest manufacturers, the giant, the colossus of hair globally. They own multiple black brands. L'Oreal isn't happy with the fact that Afro Hair is making so much money, and there are multiple black salons. I think there's 355,000 black salons in the UK, and L'Oreal is thinking, we're not even getting 5% of that. What's going on? So they're asking themselves, well, we need to have a bigger piece of the pie. And so the reason why we do what we do, we're inviting you guys to invest. You can invest, ask questions. What's wrong with our people, man? No one comes to me and say to me, you approach me. Look, I'm there doing we don't think of the hustle, the money, the investment.
Okay, but wait. Both, just a second. Let's talk about investment. What does that mean to the average black person, who wants to start up in business, not too sure, got a little bit of change in the background? How does that, because when we hear about investment, this is new to us, per se. So investment for us is not for the average person, and that is where we have to do an educational aspect of what investment means and what you can gain from it. It's not about investment for I put a tenner in, I expect to get £20 tomorrow morning. It's about long term. It's about looking at legacy type of investment. That's the education part that we need to do, because what you are doing there, you're actually providing people with the beginning of their legacy. And the investment, while they might see as expensive, but they'll go and buy a pair of trainers for £200, £300,
right.
But not invest in themselves for £500 to be part of a company that is actually facilitating their needs. So how do we explain that to people, that aspect of investment?
And that's for another conversation, because that's something that we could simply put together. Myself, Rudy Page, and myself and yourself we'll go through the whole process and procedure. We're all about transparency. Look, at the end of the day, right, when I started the conversation, I said that it's tangible. You investing into Derek Clement, over 40 years of hairdressing experience, not just a product line, but hair, right? It's you know who I am, right? We've got the product line, we've got the chemist, we've got the factory, everything is set up, right? You have to remember, this industry is a giant of an industry, and if you're not careful, what tends to usually happen, as we know, other people come into it and buy it from us. And then we would say to ourselves, oh my God, he sold it to you know who. But the reason why we sold it, because you're not interested, you're not asking, you can't see the vision. I've got friends who's got money. They'll never say to me, well, D, I got a $5,000, hold on to that, and that's for the children, whatever. I mean, we need that conversation, we need that dialogue, and that's something we can do, Hugh, on a separate conversation. We could
Absolutely.
we could
As I said to you, this today is just the first of many conversations.
This is the first.
Because
this is the first.
the learning is to talk, to
Yes.
hear,
Yes.
to understand, and then to assimilate that information
Sure.
to then put it out there.
Well, you know what? I'm going to mix it up a bit because I think it's, in some respects, it's not a case of people perhaps don't want to help or invest. It's just that they're not in a position to presently, you know? And as I said, I truly believe, you know, it's taken this long for black people to a certain degree to understand where their footing is in this world and in this country, all right? So from the ground up, things are starting to grow. People are starting to see. People are starting to do. And I truly believe that, you know, come next year and a few years after that, black people in themselves are gaining the confidence to speak up, to say, you know, I am not going to rely on the banks. I'm not going to do something that I don't particularly want to. And I'm going to be unapologetically going to support and invest in my own businesses. I know sometimes it may not seem that it's quick enough, but I just think that we just have to just
I think another
take
way,
time.
I think another way that we have to look at it is that you and I, we have family. We've got trusted friends. We can, if we haven't got a set of money to do, we can say to our friends, just like Derek has done, collaborate and put the money together. Whether it be I can put in 100, you can put in 200 and whatever, and we can say, look, Derek, this is what we've got as a collective. How do we make this work?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's about the collaboration, not just about where I am today. It's about where I want to be in the future.
Generational.
Yeah.
Well, look.
Somebody's just said here, you know, people don't know what they don't know. You know, that includes both business owners as well as customers. Sure. But the tide is changing. You know, I totally agree. You know, it's a slow burn. It infuriates me at times. But I do truly believe that there is a tide change. And that is why the companies, as you've mentioned, are now sitting up really very straight now. They're paying attention. They're paying very good attention now. So if that's starting to happen, that tells you that, you know, people are going to consider what they need to do. But as you said, that's for another conversation.
Absolutely.
Again, isn't it?
And remember, guys, we come from a legacy of trust, a legacy of collaboration, a legacy of making and saving money. We've had the susu. I mean, how many children of our age that would have got our car, our house, our business from the susu? My mother took my money from me in the 70s every week. And after 1 year, my mother gave me £5,000, right?
Wow.
And that was the susu amongst her friends, her colleagues. Mm-hmm. And I never forget the day my mother's best friend, they came to the house with a bag of money. It was in a bag anyway. And they went into the front room. And I didn't know this because obviously she was asking me for money. Derek, I need money for the housekeep. And I'm thinking, oh, Mom, I got to buy this. She says, I need... And do you know, again, I call my mother the matriarch, and, you know, those are the things that she did to her children. And so at the end of the year, I could see it right now, 1982, 83, she called me into the front room. Her friend knocked the door, came to the front room, sat me down, and they began to count. and I couldn't believe it, $5,000. And I remember taking that money, and I went into the bank in the bank in Hanover Square in the West End, and I put my money there, and I got the mortgage ASAP, and I went to Sudbury Hill, 97 Cavendish Avenue, and I bought a massive mock Tudor. I was only 24 years of age, right? And
that's the thing, isn't it?
I was able to buy not just my home, but I then invested into my salon in those days in Maida Vale. So I mean, you know, we can't be, and that was sort of simple saving system that we were doing because, you know, the mainstream bank wasn't keen on lending us money. So we could, you know, we could repeat and replicate that same concept this time with products amongst ourselves, by
Well,
ourselves, for
there are
ourselves.
a few companies at the
That's
moment.
great.
A couple of black companies is actually starting up doing exactly that in terms of the partner, and they do it independently. So we need to look at that. There's also the One Love Lottery. So we can actually get into that. We're actually supporting our own while having a little lottery system. So people, there are
Exactly.
many options, many ways for us to work together
Sure.
to get onto a scheme such as Derek is providing for us.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's absolutely
But it's
wonderful.
been a pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm seeing all the products in the back there.
Yeah.
I created them.
Well, I'm going to put some of them up again. I'm going to put up again now.
Yes, the
I mean,
entire range.
these are the products here, and as you can see, you can contact and get in contact with Derek by
Derek Clement.
website as well. Okay,
You're squeezing Derek out the way.
I'm squeezing him out.
Okay, I'm having the
showing
picture.
some of the products that he has here available.
But look, he neatly put himself. You see that? That's a man who knows about marketing.
And by the way,
How
guys,
is this handsome young person there? One.
so it's for men and women.
Exactly.
It's for men and women, guys, and it is what it is. That's what we do. We are passionate about our community. We love our people, and we're special here. I mean, even your program this evening, both of you. I mean, this is absolutely remarkable. It's delightful to reach out and to collaborate and to share.
Yes,
and to
absolutely.
update the community. Absolutely brilliant.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank
it has
you.
been a pleasure. Even though we didn't get to cover all what we wanted
No,
to cover
there'll
tonight.
be part 2, 3,
But
Part
and 4.
two.
having
Worry
said
about
that-
yourself.
Yeah, having said that, I mean, the gems that you've dropped this evening, as somebody quite rightly said, you don't know what you don't know. So where it came with in regards to women's hair, that was quite something, and thank
That
you
was-
very much for sharing that,
Mhm.
because a lot of people over a period of time will look back at this and say, do you know what, I did not know that, and
Yes.
that will fill them with confidence going forward.
And I mean, of
So,
course,
I'm going to ask you one last. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
You say.
no, I was about to say that it's interesting at this time in our lives, in our history, in our trajectory, in our awokenness. You see how because of the COVID, we talk about hair health and hair well-being. So our emphasis is essentially on the well-being of your hair. But sisters, bear in mind, as I keep saying, hair grows at a cellular level, not externally.
Yeah.
Products don't make your hair grow. It's only there to sustain and to maintain the hair shaft. But you've got to focus on the inside. You've got to eat the right food. You've got to be holistic. You've got to be physically, mentally, and spiritually whole.
Yeah.
And in this particular time, we're doing a Sankofa thing. We're going back to get the foods and the Irish moss and all of the foods. I'm using charcoal at the moment because I did some dodgy things the other day. Because of the COVID system, I have to go back and get back the real stuff. I'm using generated charcoal. I'm using something called zeolite. I'm using everything I need to keep my body sustained and supported, to make sure the immune system, because your immune system is also attached to your hair. If your immune system is challenged, your hair will break. Okay? And it also, because you have to remember, poor immunity triggers lupus. It triggers alopecia. And what does that? What causes that? Inflammation. And we've got to watch the foods we eat. Get rid of the dairies. Get rid of the red meat. Consume more of what you've done in the past. Go back to the ancestral eating habits. We've had great avatars like Dr. Sabi, who came and taught us everything about foods. So it's up to us now to ensure that we protect ourselves. And at the same time, protect your hair simultaneously.
Oh, God bless you.
Thank you
Amazing.
so much. I mean, I have learned so much. I really am
It's a pleasure.
astounded. Thank you so
Pleasure,
much.
guys. Pleasure.
We are going to come back to you very soon, and we'll be informing everyone.
Yeah.
And if we have to do specials on different nights, c'est la vie. We'll do it.
Indeed.
Yeah?
But it has been a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Derek, once again, I'm telling you, the next time you come, I've got a range of other questions. I know that.
I think we'll have to send them to you first.
Yes.
Unlock loads more nuggets of information that
Yes.
you'll share with us. Yeah, but before you go, obviously, everyone, thank you very much. Myself and you have been away for a little while,
Yeah.
but we're back now. We're back.
We're back. We're
Great
back.
show.
Doing it as best as
So
we can.
we're going to end this evening by saying thank you again
Pleasure.
to Derek. Derek, thank you so much. But before you go, everybody, we're just going to share some of our business of the week with you before we sign off. Okay.
Okay,
So stay with us and
Until then, take care,
keep
Derek.
focused.
Blessing.
It's a
Take care of
it's a
yourself.
pleasure, guys. Thank you very much. Good
Take
evening.
care now.
Good evening. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.